Welcome, Star Wars CCG players. We are here for Gavin versus Drew. I'm going to pull my stream up in another screen and just make sure that everyone can see and hear okay. Based on our quick test run a second ago, Taco Bill and I think everything is working, but we will see.
I heard you go live.
I did go live. Of course, now it says my stream is experiencing issues, which it had not previously said at all today. So we'll see how things go. I'm going to open up a second computer so I can monitor the Twitch chat. So we have Drew here on Yoda Communing against Gavin on Routier Operations, which is actually one of the 2 or 3 decks that Drew was expecting Gavin to play. So he at least got a matchup that he thinks he's ready for.
Yeah, we ran a couple test games with this. I know that Gavin was on a list that was pretty Emperor heavy for a while. Excuse me. So I played that a couple times with Drew running probably this exact list. I am not the pilot that Gavin is, but I got rolled a couple times there.
So Drew pulls Don't Do That Again to suspend the You Cannot Have Forever mob points, which is pretty typical play. Forces Routier Operations to go to a system in order to sack to get the Insignificant Rebellion.
Yeah, I think the ideal turn 1 play for Gavin here is to set up a docking bay with, Piet and Ozzel. And he's not going to get any extra generation out of that, and he's not going to be able to pull the Insignificant Rebellion B either until he goes to space.
So Drew's start is also pretty typical. He's got the Hujix effect, Walkling, and Sator. I know the contents of his deck, so I don't want to give too much away about what to anticipate.
Yeah, I guess in watching some of the other games, I don't know that the We're Leaving start is standard. I think that's something that we've been doing that we really like. We kind of carried it over from when Bastion played it in the Shadow Collective deck.
Yeah, I guess I say it's standard. It's just because it's what I see in all of our lists. I think that this started off as a Charlie list, maybe 5 or 6 days before Worlds, and Drew and others have been working on it since. And then I know Drew's played a lot of games with different teammates over the last week. So yourself, Charlie, Greg, I know have played a good bit. So we'll see if those reps pay off for him since he got the matchup he anticipated.
Just spamming your link so that people come watch us and we're not talking into the void.
So I think that we should also be being hosted on the PC stream. I don't know how the auto hosting works. I guess they probably have to come to us for chat.
Yeah, so what it does is basically links it to your page.
Cool. Yeah, I just went there quickly and it showed that we are on at least. So, well, we have Derek J. Jackson here at least, since he responded in the chat. Happy to have you here. If you guys have any issues hearing us or anything, let me know. I am cautiously optimistic that my laptop will be able to support the stream. All right, so Drew, I know, is playing, I think he might have upwards of 2 or 3 copies of Ray. This was the start he wanted first turn. Get a Ray down, get a use pile pull, potentially pull activation. But just try to start clogging up Routier with dudes.
Yeah, so he did this a couple times in our game. One time it was Luke turn 1, one time it was Ray turn 1. And what it does is it basically forces you to control all 3 sites. So Gavin might have to get lucky, get one in hand. And then also, his other option is to, wait a turn. And by then, Drew's going to be able to reinforce with, hopefully Luke, maybe a mace, maybe another just like big body.
So who knows if Drew got that with his use pile pull, his Ray force pile pull, but this is the turn 1 that Drew was hoping for. Activation and Ray.
Yeah, and Gavin just going with the Piet to start. Did you see if he pulled a commander, if he was able to find Desane?
I did not, but he did. So he pulled Thrawn and Piet, I believe, at the start, and then he got to Sane with his
Okay.
Piet pull.
I guess I could actually get into this game and watch too. I don't want to slow anything down.
I just made the screen full screen and made us smaller, so hopefully that will help with being able to see everything on the table, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the other tough thing about this matchup is Rops only gets 3 force to start, so you're only able to put out Piet. I know in our games when I played as the Rops player, I was pulling Admiral Ozzel and dropping him down just to kind of feel a little safer. We saw in Brian Fred's game the other day what can happen if you leave some people at non-battlegrounds.
I'm hoping this match lasts longer than that one did. I felt poorly for Brian. Just the way that went was hard to watch. Hopefully this will be a bit more competitive. But yeah, I mean, he's going to force Gavin here. He's not going to give up any icons. I don't expect that Drew will play any battleground locations this game. If he does, it'll be late. But I think his game plan will be force Gavin to operate on as little force as possible.
I'm just gonna watch that 2-2. The 3-2, right? Is that what it plays? The 3-2?
I believe so. I'm gonna pull up
that to show up at a bad time. I'm gonna grab my other light on real quick.
It is, in fact, the 3-2.
Yeah, that makes sense. So he should be running both the 3-2 and the battle planes, but the battle planes you can take into hand with Lisa. So that right. Hopefully won't show up at an inopportune time, but the 3-2 does have that chance.
So it'll be interesting to see if Gavin is still playing the Emperor heavy ROPS that he had been playing, if he's pivoted to more of a Walker based version, if it's still very character heavy. So TBD.
Yeah, and I think Drew was kind of prepared for both. We kind of had Gavin on a range of ROPS, ISB, because that's what Paul played, and then also the Dark Deal objective, because I know that they have played that with success in the past. So I feel like he made a couple late adjustments to kind of pivot away from being all in on ROPS to, being better against vehicles, while still being good against a character heavy version.
It's funny, Drew early on in preparing for this was on a range of other light side decks, none of which were communing or mains, and was just trying to figure out how could they do well against ROPS. And a few of us chimed in like, why don't you just focus on tweaking mains to be better in those matchups? And he kind of had a eureka moment and was like, okay. And so he spent the last 10 or so days while traveling in Greece consistently pinging our Slack with ideas and questions.
He said he played like 40 games in his head. Shades of what was the chess show?
So I'm interesting. I was actually just about to posit. I think we talked about pulling Goldenrod or not, and we argued for pulling it, but obviously Drew had not. But he had Perimeter Scan in hand to block the free download here on the Blizzard 4.
Oh yeah, I'm watching this a little slower than you are because I'm watching the actual Twitch feed. But yeah, that's gonna hurt. I mean, if you're looking to get like an EPP Vader out there, or like maybe a Gideon to kind of spur on your characters, getting neither of those is no good for you.
Here comes Descend. So Gavin's down to 5 cards in hand. He cannot be thrilled with that Perimeter Scan. Spaceport Street comes out.
Mike, will you do me a favor and just click on Ralt here so it's not all separated like that?
What do I do? I clicked on Ralt here.
Click right below Ralt here.
I didn't know you could do that. I've just played games where everything is all spread out and dealt with it. The family is good, Justin. Thanks for asking. I'm getting out of... I was part of bath time, but I'm out on bedtime duties tonight since Drew's playing at prime time. But things are good. Hope all is well in your world. Same with you, Dan. Thanks for the warm welcome. Hope the surgery was successful and you're recovering.
So Anakin here to go grab probably daughter, right?
Yep.
He does have the Sator, so you can get her gun next turn. That's a really dangerous card for ROPS, right? Especially if it's like a character-heavy version, because then you might think you have, you're safe with Piet Desane, but you're not, because Leia's gun's really good. But it also helps against the vehicles because it can shoot those as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, I'm gonna get on real time here.
So Drew pulls daughter. It'll be interesting to see. Do you think he'll go after Blizzard 4 here, or just start clogging up the other sites?
I think you go after Blizzard 4. He's not going to have enforcement online with this Luke here. So maybe you can put, not necessarily daughter, you don't want to lose daughter. If you have something else in your hand, I might go after Blizzard 4 just to get it off the table. But then again, if he finds the swap card, he can just get Blizzard 4 back and we'll be able to actually play it. The danger is if your daughter gets barriered, but
Drew has the canceller, which
luckily
is timely. So they occupy the same, right? So enforcement will still be in effect.
That's true. For some reason, I was thinking of Battlegrounds, but it doesn't care.
I mean, Leia's gun is up there. I think Rey is probably the single best light side card, but
so
Leia's gun definitely the best weapon, I would say.
There you go. It looks to me like he went to look for the gun, but it's not in there.
And Gavin now is stuck with a 4-card hand. So, like, it's unlikely he's going to have a particularly productive next turn. All right, 3-card hand, but here's Tempest Scout 6. Missing the gun there is unfortunate. It would have been potentially quite good for Drew to shoot that.
Yeah, because then you could shoot Blizzard 4, and that's just a bad time all around.
A run Luke run would be huge.
So 5 at least will clear Blizzard 4. But 4 is going to clear... oh no, I guess Yoda's going to subtract 2 from that.
Yoda will subtract 2, which is one of the main reasons Drew was angling towards this, is just like the additional immunity for daughter and some of these characters just makes them a lot harder to clear.
Yeah, I think Drew's happy to throw 2 cards away to get Luke on the table. It's very difficult to get rid of in this matchup. And then also keep both of his characters there.
I'll be honest, this is going about 100% the way Drew was hoping the game would go in his 50 games that he played in his set in Greece. But this was the exact game plan and line that he was anticipating, and the way that he probably made 5 or so card changes in the last week that significantly skewed the deck towards this. One of which was removing Mace Windu altogether and upping his Rey and Daughter of Skywalker count.
I'm just picturing him like lying in bed in Greece, playing games on the ceiling like the Queen's Gambit.
That's probably about the closest thing to reality when it comes to Drew as you might imagine. A timely goldenrod from Drew after Blizzard 4 has been put in the lost pile.
Yeah, so Gavin with a 4-card hand, but one of them is Emperor's Shuttle, which is not going to help him establish the ground game. So his potential options here are to search for the objective, find a non-unique Imperial, but something like Death Trooper or Stormtrooper Garrison needs to be paired with somebody. He does have Thrawn, right? That's one of the cards he pulled early.
All right, so here's the shuttle.
Yeah, he'll throw mob points away to go get insignificant,
which he knows is in his deck after drawing it for Destiny on the prior turn. He pulls Battle Order, so Drew will be paying to drain. Oddly enough, speaking of paying to drain in space, Drew was initially, when we pointed him towards why don't you just play mains, was like all in on thinking about let the Wookiee win and how he wanted to play Tan of 4. And then he came to the realization, I could just play Tan of 4 in Yoda Communing, and there was no restriction there. He just had created one in his own mind, and thankfully poured it into this deck.
I will say this is a line I took in one of the games I played against Drew, where you throw the shuttle up there, you throw Ozzel up there, and you kind of hope that it sticks, and you can draw into an Emperor. But if he has already found Tantive, that Ozzel, forfeits for 6. So if he can find, Tantive Hera.
Does he even need to worry about space, though? I mean, he can just eat this drain of 1 the whole game. Who cares? He's committed 2 cards to it. Drew's just going to keep him from flipping drain on the ground, battle where it's profitable at this point.
Like, you keep clicking on all the...
Dan asked me to click on the boss. He asked me to click on the boss mass shooters. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. No, he wants you to unclick it now, so click again.
You guys are really, really demanding. You should be happy that this laptop is even up to the task. Which, big shout out to Robbie Hendon for helping me on Sunday try to make sure everything worked. And long story short, we got to the point that we didn't think the laptop could handle it. And then I decided to try Zoom instead of Discord on Monday, and voila, my computer can handle it. So hopefully that means you'll be seeing me stream a good bit more. Especially once we move to the frozen tundra and I never leave my house.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think Drew is going to be content here to, activate 15 cards, pay 6 to drain for 4. Probably get Leia's gun this turn and then replenish his hand.
Yeah, that seems like a perfectly fine position if you're Drew. And Gavin's doing 2 damage currently, but he's well behind on board. Like, this is exactly how Drew wanted this to set up.
Yeah, and then any kind of inevitable counterattack that he can't deal with, he has the We're Leaving available. So Gavin's not even going to be able to cause overflow.
Which is such a discouraging feeling when your opponent has just Gick or Hujix on table like that, and you have to get through a first offensive battle where you actually do enough damage to warrant using the effect, and all you did was make them sack the 1 card they started. I mean, there's a reason those cards cost force to deploy. I don't think they were ever intended to be started with starting effects.
I feel like I should just, anytime I draw a Gick or a Hujix, I should just put it on the table face up so my opponent knows.
Well, it's better to slow roll. Well, there goes Ceasefire, which has got to be a card that Drew is happy to see go. I mean, he'll be able to recur it with Rebellion, but at least that means that a battle has to have happened for that to happen.
Yeah, that's 2 ceasefires off the top.
There's Leia's gun from deck.
Rose will cut that damage in half, essentially. BB-8 will expand his damage. Those are pretty good cards to play.
They're not bad.
I'm just going all in with
Padme backing up Luke. I think this is Drew saying you are not flipping. Good luck getting through these.
Yeah.
Unless he plays an unprecedented fifth sight. Although it would be very doesn't he has to stop him from controlling routes or locations. So it seems very unlikely. Good turn for Drew.
Yeah, he's completely fine taking 2 damage here. He's going to retrieve 1 of it. He has a Yoda retrieve available. He's got a Walkling retrieve available in case he loses something important.
And a lot of his important pieces are on the board already. I mean, he's got Leia's gun already. He has both sabers, or 2 sabers, I should say. BB-8's out. Rose is out.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like Tantive left. And even that, you don't even need.
It's kind of a nice to have. Yeah, it's definitely a luxury item at this point. I have to imagine Gavin has been in situations like this before. He has played lots of ROPS, so I'll be interested to see how he tries to maneuver through this. Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, he has. Go ahead.
Emperor to shuttle, I think would be as expected. I think you might argue that at this point in the game, he's more valuable in the ground.
I think he kind of has the same read we do, where like the only piece that Drew is really missing, is a Tantive. So maybe just shore that up a little bit. Vader's going to come in here and probably suicide to take out either BB-8 or Rose. He does have insignificant online. He'll be able to trade some cards if he lost something that he wants back too. So, I mean, like that's kind of the strength of the ROPS, right? Is like you're never out of it because you can always get back your important pieces.
Right. Like he may be able to now recur one of the ceasefires for a subsequent battle, in which case, I mean, Vader will assuredly die, but then in a subsequent battle, he can just get back Vader and keep doing hit and runs. Insignificant Rebellion may be one of my top 5 least favorite cards in all of Star Wars. Not
Is Rey also on that list?
I think she is too good, but I like playing with her. I don't find Insignificant Rebellion particularly interesting, and I think it is like the recursion it allows is just abusive. All right, so Gavin comes into battle. We'll see who he chooses to swing at.
I gotta think it's BB-8, right? Because you think that he could be playing another Rose, plus BB-8 is forfeit 4, as opposed to just 2.
All right, so he's going at Rey, which I think is sort of an interesting choice. You don't go for daughter no matter what because of blaster deflection, I would think. To me, I would have gone for BB-8 as well.
You're going after Rey. Maybe his thought process is get the saber off the table, cut the damage down a little bit, but you can do that easily by getting BB-8 off the table too, and he doesn't have to pay for BB-8. So maybe it's the communing interaction that he's trying to get rid of.
Drew with the Jedi love to pull Anakin into hand, so it gives him even more gas if needed, plus helps shore up this destiny to make it more likely he'll hit Vader, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, getting Anakin and knowing you're going to lose Rey and the saber here, you'll be able to either Yoda retrieve or walking retrieve the saber back. You know you have Anakin next turn. So that's a pretty good pull.
So not being at Worlds, I have played with Communing, especially in the Atlanta weekend when you guys came down a few weeks before, but I'm interested kind of what was sentiment at Worlds about Communing? How did people feel about the options that it gives you, etc.? Just give me a quick recap.
I thought it. I think it's not quite at its potential, right? Like it came out maybe a month before Worlds. I think there are builds that you can explore, but for now, it just kind of feels like another mains platform. So I don't think it was anything too oppressive or, too much share of the meta, right? Because even the communings are split between Yoda and Qui-Gon. So people thought that, like, didn't think one was way better than the other, right? In general, that's kind of the impression that I got. I don't know if chat has like more impressions they want to talk about.
All right, so Drew coming in hot with the sorry about the mess, adding 3 to his battle total, and is going to get Vader off the table here. So Justin's point about clearing Rey, I think, is a fair one. I would take the sure thing of knocking out BB-8 that, again, doesn't cost force 4 damage. But also, if I'm Drew, I'm not totally displeased with Rey going off the table when I have 3 Rey in my deck.
Yeah. We did see him draw one for Destiny, so he may have one in hand, but less likely.
Sure. I just mean generally.
Yeah.
Getting a subsequent use by Bowl is nice. He will probably get into her at some point.
That's why I wouldn't swing a Rey either, because you get so much benefit from getting her back on table.
However, you do, if he doesn't have it in hand, obviously you're turning off the every turn card draw, which with Communing can be quite powerful.
That's true. And he does have a small hand. 5 cards, one of them's Anakin. So Secret Plan says he's not going to be able to retrieve the saber this turn, so he won't be able to match Anakin with it next turn. I'm still able to do 4 damage.
Well, so actually, Justin's point, I don't think it's accurate, right? If he goes after Rey, it depends on what else is lost, but BB-8 is still online with Rose now.
Yeah, I think if he didn't have the sorry about the mess to add to the blaster.
Totally. Then everything is different. I'm just saying. Yeah, sorry. I wasn't.
Be an interesting choice.
Drew's getting his Force Train on. My understanding from Drew is that they are going to start game 2 at 10 p.m. regardless of the length of this game, but depending on how quickly this game ends, that may or may not change.
I will likely be stepping out if the game goes as long as 8:30. I'm going to step out and stream the other game. I actually forget who I'm streaming.
Yeah, sorry. Justin and I just had a brain lapse about... I was looking at the board today. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. But yes, the sorry about the mess just changed everything considerably.
Yeah, so I will be streaming at 8:30. Matthew Harrison Trainer and Brad Kipple game 2.
On the Frim Basil channel?
On the Frim Basil channel.
Are you giving away any Rook deck boxes?
I will not be giving away Rook deck boxes, but I will be giving something away.
Are you at liberty to say what?
I am, but I am not going to.
So see, that would make me question, is it all that good? Because if it was good, you would want to hype people up to come join.
It's pretty good.
All right, so Drew has his Tana 4. I think he feels and the subsequent Ray as well. Everything's turning up Drew so far this game.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well, and we see Vader's shuttle go off the top too, so he probably feels like the odds of him actually being attacked in space at this point are minimal, and now he just won't have to pay to drain, even if they just chase each other around.
Yeah, and even like if he is able to draw multiple destinies in space, Ray effectively covers 9 with the subtraction from attrition.
Right. And with Gavin not flipping, odds are that should be plenty.
And if he does break through 9, you can just Yoda retrieve the Tannin. Yeah, so he's going to be able to drain for 1 at the system, 2 at Luke's site, 1 at the prefect's office, and 1 damage from BB-8, if I'm looking at that correctly. And then he'll also get to retrieve with Rose now because Ray is back on table.
Yes. And he moves Padme over, which I like. Luke is challenging to get off the table for this deck, and he covers plenty. So there's Qui-Gon off the top, and one of his Wisas off the top.
I'm just seeing going for a shuttle, but nothing in there, so he gets to see the 5 cards in the deck. Did he retrieve the saber? Yes.
I think so. I was just double checking. Yes, he did. He used the Master Yoda retrieval for that.
So Decree V, which is not doing much other than enabling somebody to draw Destiny.
Not a particularly exciting card. If I'm Drew, I'm actually pretty happy to see that come out at this point. It's just one less unit of force that Gavin has.
So if you're Gavin here, your best path to victory right now is trying to overwhelm. Okay, well, it's not going to be that. Never mind. I was going to say your path to victory is trying to overwhelm Luke, getting him off the table, and then you can, move somebody in front of that stack for a turn, and you can maybe flip this turn. But maybe that's just wrong. So instead, he's going to bring down Tarkin and Thrawn, both virtual. That's enabling him to drop 2 destinies currently, though Leia's gun can make that a problem.
Yeah, I think the going after Luke kind of makes sense from if you're trying to flip standpoint, but I think the odds of him clearing him are not, it's not certain. Obviously with this crew, who knows? It might have been sufficient.
Yeah, I mean that's 14 power.
So plenty of power in 3, yeah. Okay, so we don't see a battle. We see him move Piet over in front of Luke.
He's just stopping bleeding at this point. I mean, 9 power in front of Luke is formidable. The decree ensures that even if there's a mess, that he'll be able to draw Destiny at least. I don't know how I feel about this because that stack, the Tarkin Thrawn Trooper stack, that can get eaten up pretty quickly. You have Leia to cancel the Trooper's text. You have a gun to get rid of, Thrawn or Tarkin, whoever he doesn't use first. I'm assuming there's a command in his hand.
He'd probably go for Tarkin just because it's a surer thing to hit. I mean, 3 versus 4, but
yeah. Plus, that gets his redraw. So if Drew has something like, I mean, just pick a character, right? Like a Lando, or I guess you can't play Lando in this one.
He does not, in fact, have Lando in his deck.
Yeah, like Hera, or even like Jyn.
Well, he has Anakin in hand.
He has Anakin, so Anakin's forfeiting, right?
So he has Anakin in hand. Other cards he could have, like Solo. He lost to Qui-Gon, but he could have to Chewbacca,
The saber should be in the deck
Hera.
too.
But I would expect that we will see Anakin come to the party, and we'll see if he has any other characters. It's up to 7 cards in hand.
You could also just drop Anakin with Luke, hit both guys, and draw Destiny. You'll be immune to 6, and then you could just move the other 4 over. Like the Tarkin Thrawn Trooper stack is most of his offense left, I feel like.
Yeah, Drew's definitely incentivized to only battle favorably, and like he doesn't need to risk losing Rose or BB-8. So I don't hate that. The odds are he won't lose. I mean, if he draws an Emperor for Destiny, he would lose Anakin in that situation. But otherwise, he's likely not losing any of Luke or Anakin, and he's potentially clearing Gavin's sight.
Yeah, and then we're right back to where we were, where Gavin's draining for 1 and 1, and Drew is doing 4 or 5 or whatever it is.
All right, so this makes me think what Greg is saying in chat is most likely that he probably has one of his Anakin interrupts in hand as well, and this could be quite big. If he has Run Luke Run, that's a spicy. Then that's quite a spicy meatball. But we'll see. Oh, all right. So he does have the second Qui-Gon. He's got sand. That kind of makes all of the concern about the multiple destiny obviously moot.
Yeah, so now you're not worried about Tarkin doing anything. You're not worried about Thrawn adding with a command. So you really just like cancel the trooper's text, make him power -1, and then shoot somebody lost. And then at the other site, I don't even know if you have enough Destiny for all this. You can swing and draw Destiny.
I don't think he has enough Destiny for all this. I don't know that he needs to battle at both sites, though.
Yeah. I definitely think you battle with Luke. Because you're not going to lose anything there.
Yep, I agree with you. Although there's an argument to be made just battling at the other place, you wreak more havoc. But from a strategy standpoint, I would agree with you. And so does Drew.
The only bad thing about battling is that it allows Gavin to trade something in his hand for Vader.
And if he's playing 4 or 5 Emperors, the odds are he has one in his hands to swap.
Yeah. So battle with Luke. Luke's going to hit Piet, even with the 0. It's good to get that out of the way.
Yes. That's the perfect time to draw the 0 for Destiny if you're Drew. I see Bill in chat asking, how does he get this deck list? I imagine if you send Drew a PM on the forums, he will happily share it with you. Drew's a pretty sharing person.
I mean, it's probably, 52 cards, the same as what Charlie and Greg played at Worlds?
Yes, I would say 52 to 55, and everything else was just changed to warp the deck to hopefully be more favorable versus Drew put Gavin on either ROPS, this deal is getting worse all the time, or ISB, like we said. So he was hedging his bets against other dark sides and really trying to up his percentage in these matchups.
So it looks like they both drew 4s for Destiny. Gavin did trade a Tarkin for the Vader in Lost Pile. Gavin will have to lose both Piet and either the ATSD or Desane, while Drew is free to not lose anything.
I'm not surprised to see him keep the vehicle, just less things that can have its forfeit reduced. So for future battles, it's useful.
We follow the Sun Tzu art of war when it comes to battling. You only initiate battles you are sure you're going to win.
Yeah, which is essentially what happened there. It was, I will battle you favorably, I lose nothing, you lose 2 guys. He's just whittling him through. I mean, and now he's in a better position at the, is that the prefect's office where everyone is? I think so.
Yes. Yeah, and sand is huge, just because that pretty much stops a lot of the threats. He does have Vader, but Vader can't come down to the prefect's office because Padme is there. So even if Vader tries to get rid of Luke, you still have to deal with either blaster deflection or just Luke's redraw. So Drew found the battle planes, we'll lose that.
Easy selection.
Yeah, and I think that's a mistake playing Vader to that site.
Maybe he was not thinking about the Padme text. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'm also surprised to see that, because that is essentially 6 force for a 8 forfeit character that does nothing. All right.
So Gavin battling has the alter collateral damage, which is silly that it works offensively.
Yes.
Say every chance I get.
We ran into that in the playtesting week in Atlanta, and I had the exact same thing. So opponent has 4 or more characters. If he draws less than, which I also never did when running into the same offensive situation, he at least has enforcement to redraw with his Emperor. Drew will have to choose one to be lost. You have to imagine that he's going to lose BB-8 or Rose.
Yeah, and I assume Rose.
Interesting to hear, looking at the chat, Justin saying Team New Allies has trained Drew well. I would actually argue Drew has probably played more with folks outside of the team than anybody else on the team. He just plays nonstop and thinks about the game, and is Drew's just good at card games in general. But like, he's usually the one giving his line of play to the team, and then people discuss or what they would do differently. But he is one of the more active thinkers and posters in our Slack, wouldn't you say, Bill?
I would wholeheartedly agree with you.
When we did our playtesting weekend in Atlanta, I felt like Brian Fred was just trying to be a Drew sponge.
A Drew sponge?
Yeah, like he asked him all sorts of questions. It was interesting because I loved hearing Drew's thoughts on things, but Drew and Matt also had similar discussions, and then you saw Matt got runner-up at Worlds, which was obviously quite impressive and happy to see. But I think that his discussions and games with us, he told me in an email, like definitely helped him, which was great to hear.
Yeah, so Drew did lose Rose. He canceled the Trooper's text with Leia. He's going to shoot Tarkin with Leia, so Tarkin will go lost. He's going to swing at somebody, presumably Thrawn. He represents the most forfeit for easiest hit. I guess you do have +1 draws from Anakin. He's going to take a card off of I Don't Like Sand to prevent those 2 destinies and the redraw from enforcement. Well, I guess he already redrew from enforcement, so still prevent the 2 destinies. He's going to add a destiny to attrition with Padme, and then subtract 2 from total attrition.
And you gotta imagine he'll take the first aid combo, which is nice, knowing if he recurs Vader and puts him at another site, at least you have sort of EPP protection no matter what in your hand.
Yeah. And you don't need fly casual for anything.
It would be prime, lose to a 4-stream. I guess you could then retrieve it and start tracking your 6 around, but that seems worse to me than just taking first aid.
I feel like you just retrieve Rose here if you don't play another one. Because Walkling's not doing as much for you now with 18 force.
That's fair. Although it'll be interesting to see how many more turns this game actually goes. Gavin may just end up drawing up to try to stop some of that Rose retrieval. Although he's pinging him for 1 currently. We'll see when the dust settles at the end of this turn.
All right, so Gavin draws a 3 for Destiny. Probably see Padme go here. BB-8.
So BB-8 has to be present with the resistant character, so I would expect that it'll be BB-8. Did I mess up the locations again, or are we okay? I think we're okay. I'm afraid to click on anything now.
No, you're fine because it enlarges itself during a battle.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if it's not BB-8. Greg in chat is also agreeing.
So trading with insignificant, trading a Stormtrooper patrol for Grand Moff Tarkin. It's interesting because I think Gavin could win this battle depending on this Destiny draw.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be a 0 because it's not even going to add to 1 with Anakin.
Because of sand.
The other one's a 5 though, so he should be able to clear Vader. With the attrition.
I'm going to be honest, I've had a very long week at work, so I'm not tracking Drew's Destinies. It's just not happening. So I'm glad you're here for... to be fair, I should know that because it was 0-5 before, but either way.
That was only 1 turn, yeah.
I know. That's how tired I am.
Yeah, so Gavin has 5 attrition. Well, the prefect's office makes the trooper forfeit +1, right?
Yeah. I'm going to check. I'm going to run the risk. Oh, it's not even letting me expand. Here we go.
Yeah, because he has
power and forfeit +1.
Yeah.
I did not know this gem feature existed until like the last 8 months, by the way. There's probably all sorts of things the platform does that I don't know. It would be nice if there was like somebody should do a tips and tricks or something.
Just for the mid-level GEMP player who doesn't know what GEMP can do.
Yeah, like a BuzzFeed. 20 things you didn't know GEMP could do. Click through this slideshow.
I'm sure Jared's listening.
He's doing actually productive things for the PC.
Oh, okay.
Talk about someone who is good at their job. Thank you for all the things you've done, Jared. If he's here. If you're not, you'll probably watch this later, but yeah. Big ups to Jared.
Yeah, so Gavin is left with Vader, who has no text at that site, and a Walker on table. So he's going to combine the 2 in front of the Luke. Depending on how much Drew chooses to activate here, that 7th card down, or the top card of the use pile right now, is the Saber. So he can get Qui-Gon's Saber out if he wants.
Don't you think he's better off just making sure the 0 is not in his deck?
Yes, he should activate 16.
That's what
he should
that's what
immediately commuting it.
Yeah. Communing it to the bottom, draw with Rey, and then keep going. I like that better, I'm just going to say.
I mean, Gavin's doing a decent job of taking the damage off the table, right? Like, you made him lose the Saber once, you made him lose Rose, you made him lose BB-8 now.
Oh, I think Gavin's done like everything he can do to try to get this to be as close as possible to make Drew use as many resources as possible. just to at least lower the diff and give himself a better chance in the next game.
Yeah.
It's just I kind of it's the nature of this type of tournament. Like it stinks when you're somebody like Gavin who is very, very good with a limited range of decks. But this is like all I really have ever seen Gavin play, and that was most of the discussion in the team pages. And so it was like very easy for Drew to say, I think he's going to play one of these. I'm warping my deck. Whereas if you're playing against plenty of other players in the top 16, you're like, he could literally show up with any deck.
Yeah, I think one change that I would like to see is having deck lists submitted in advance of the matchup. I mean, that's not going to solve the problem that you're talking about, but it will solve the problem of, teching for a specific matchup after you win or after you lose or something like that.
So I was sort of perusing Slack here and there today. What's your reaction, speaking of match play, to all of the potential NPC feedback?
Well, we got some stuff to read, that's for sure.
Every time I'd open my phone, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just getting more and more and more. It was so many messages. We had planning meetings for next year, so I was unable to keep up with it too much. But yeah, I'm curious to see kind of, as one of the 2 or 3 people most involved in NPC planning, what's your gut reaction to some of that feedback? Do you anticipate change for the upcoming NPC or more for 2023? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I don't think you'll see wholesale sweeping change this year. I think it'll be more likely that if we do change something, it will be a small change, maybe the one where, we seed everybody knows their seed and the bracket is drawn that morning. I think that's the most we would change. We're not going to go to like full chaos this year, as fun as it would be.
So this was the one thought I had looking through what I did see. Like, if the general feedback is specifically, we're kind of tired of match play, why not put out a poll or something and say, are you planning to attend the NPC? Like, yes, regardless of format, maybe, no, however, we could talk through the responses. But essentially, right. Like, I'm definitely going, I might go, there's no way I would go, some sort of spectrum there. And then if you had to pick, would you rather it be a match play tournament, or could we just, why not, instead of it being the NPC, it could be the New Jersey Grand Prix or something? Like, couldn't it just be a regular major? I'm just throwing it out there. As someone involved, like, is there any interest in getting the pulse from players on that?
Yes. But the one thing I will say is that is something I've already talked to the tournament committee about maybe doing next year. The NPC has gone on for 15 years now. This will be the 15th. So maybe it has, run its course. We've seen some declining attendance recently, and some of that is specifically because it is match play. So if we could nip that in the bud, that would be good.
I personally, I have only played in a handful of Star Wars team tournaments, but I played in a lot of Magic team tournaments, Magic team drafts. And team card games is like one of the most fun ways to play, and I would love to see us try maybe pivot the NPC from a traditional match play into more of a team tournament.
Yeah, I could see something like that too. We missed a little action.
Yeah, I figure at this point the game's outcome is so obvious. I thought it was interesting just to put you on the spot. So I'll let you catch us up.
Well, Drew drained for 2 and 1. He then tried to Clash of Sabers Vader, but that was Sense. So Gavin lost 2 more cards and the Sense. Now Drew is battling into that the Vader and the Tempest Scout. We had a Sneak Attack come out. So Sneak Attack, did that put a card on top, or is that going to be to add a Destiny? Card on top. And now he will use that card to swing at...
Okay, guys, I am live again. I apologize. I'm going to work on getting Bill and I back on this Zoom call. I apologize for this issue. All right, we see fifth brother come down to the Spaceport Street. Along with Tarkin against Qui-Gon, initiating a battle, power 11 to power 6. I'm still trying to figure out these technical difficulties, which I'm not sure why I'm having. I'm just going to keep this up while I try to figure out the Zoom issue that I'm having. I apologize, guys, but at least this way you're able to follow along with what is happening while I do this.
Mike's still struggling a little bit.
Bill,
Hello, Mike.
I think I may have fixed it.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay. Is anybody on Mike's channel and can hear that Mike is back?
Joker King is at least, and it looks like Echo Base Trooper is as well. I'm not going to worry about our cameras. I'm just going to focus on the game. So
I'm going to go ahead and end my stream.
there are 9 people in our stream, the one on mine at least. Just go ahead and let your stream know, probably. All right. Thanks, guys. You guys are letting us know. They can hear us. I'm not going to worry about the webcam for now. I think hearing us is all that matters. You guys are looking at the screen anyway. You've already seen Bill's mustache, and that's all there really is to see.
Lovely. And I think literally nobody likes it.
Do you like it?
I have my reservations.
See, but if you don't like it and the wife doesn't like it, that should be all you need to know.
Mike, you got to commit to the bit.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So while you were away, Drew spread out a bit. Gavin countered with the fifth brother and Tarkin to get rid of Qui-Gon. Drew retrieved somebody with Jedi Levitation, right? Takes a Qui-Gon into hand. Looks like he's just playing as many used interrupts as he can now. He's going to be able to do, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 damage next turn?
Gavin has 10 in Life Force, 3 in hand. And Drew currently has 22 in Life Force and 6 in hand.
Yeah, I think Drew is going to want to battle at least one more time so we can get the Fly Casual back, just as another card.
All right, so
Eric, my mustache is also not a good look. But you got to commit.
See, you keep saying you have to commit. I don't know if anyone else believes that.
I wear a mask all day at work, so it's the perfect time that I can do it. But like, I take my mask off to eat, and while I'm sitting at my desk, and the one guy that sits next to me, he was like, "Just so you know, I did see that you're trying to grow a mustache, and I don't approve."
Yeah, J Nap already said this will be a fun game to upload to the YouTube channel. I imagine if we just string my couple videos together, we'll have like 95% of the game, and hopefully that'll be sufficient.
Yeah, I tried to summarize it for people, but
I was very concerned when my main monitor just went black out of, and I was like, oh, I didn't turn anything off, and then I looked down and the laptop screen had gone blue and was doing. I guess they've changed the blue screen of death now. It's got a smiley face on it. I don't understand how that makes any sense.
the
It's
blue screen
not.
of happiness.
It's not a yellow smiley face. It's like the colon parentheses smiley face. So it's like they're trying to be cute with DOS or some stuff. Caught myself there before I swore on the channel.
Looks like Drew drained for 4. Gavin lost 2 Emperors, a close call, and a 4th card that I missed. Stormtrooper Garrison.
The
Qui-Gon
Serene
coming
Jedi.
down. You know, for being a Serene Jedi, he's been involved in several battles.
Wow. I feel like at a certain point, Drew's just going for the rubbins here.
Well, I mean, he's still got at least 2 or 3 turns before he can close it out, just by virtue of doing damage.
I mean, he's definitely doing the right thing. I'm just saying the board state just is commanding.
Yes, exactly how he wanted this game to go.
I mean, he's like one of my best friends in the whole world, so I'm obviously very pleased with the way this game has gone. But from a more impartial standpoint, it's like just rubbing salt in the wound.
So Qui-Gon and Rey draw a 3, which becomes a 4. Gavin draws a 2, which will be a 0 attrition. But he doesn't get to exchange a card.
So we'll see what he swaps with. He's down to 2 in hand, so not a ton in terms of
card
types.
7 in life force. Something like Vader doesn't make sense.
Right.
Maybe just close call and redraw your 2.
Well, I'm saying it just his going to be hand dependent too, right?
Yeah.
All right, so it's Cure Kanos to get Thrawn. Yeah, I agree that with Eric, Drew should have used Sand. One, just to get a life force up. To Chris's question, all of us felt strongly that he would either play ROPS, Deal, or ISB. And so Drew tweaked this deck specifically for those matchups, but I would say it was probably like 60 to 75% chance we thought he would play ROPS.
I think what he plays later will be interesting. I don't think we spent a lot of time thinking about what he would play for light side. I think Drew is pretty set on what he wants to play for dark.
He has a few dark side options that he knew he would play depending on how this game goes.
Yeah. So, the Odin would have been trying to rub it in, but he messed up.
True. I'm mostly just giving Drew crap, and he can't even hear me. But for those of you that do know Drew, that is unfortunately Drew's lot in life, as we just make fun of him out of love, more so than most.
So Gavin activates everything. He'll probably draw here. So looks like it's going to be 23, unless Drew has more.
More use interrupter two in his hand.
I think he's played them all at this point.
So, as I said before, when I asked Drew, depending on how this game goes, do you think you will start your second game sooner? And he said, to his knowledge, they were going to start at 10 p.m. either way. I will try to verify that with Drew.
And I will be streaming at 8:30 on my channel. Matthew Harrison Trainer versus Brad Kipple Game 2. I don't know what happened in game one. Hopefully somebody does, so I can find that out before I start that stream up.
Okay, so it looks like 10 p.m. He says, I'll see you in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Drew asks 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Always a stickler for details, Drew is. And I believe Gregulus K. Shaw is joining for the 10 p.m. And I'm going to turn my computer off and hope it doesn't blue screen again. So go to Bill's channel at 8:30 to see MHT versus Brad Kipple game 2. Matt again has an 8 differential advantage there. And then come to my channel at 10. It'd be great if that game finishes before 10. Bill, you're welcome to jump on if you're staying up late. We could do a 3-man booth.
Ooh, it looks like I'm in the streaming channel. It looks like Justin and Connor will be playing a game at 10 also. So maybe
we may need to divide and conquer.
Maybe Jared will be streaming that one.
Cool. Well, congratulations to Chris on his victory earlier today. Congratulations to Drew on winning this game, and good luck for the remainder of the games this evening. And I'll see you back on this channel at 10.
And you can see me